On first day, video 1, we discussed about the author, the narration, various techniques employed by the author, and a few key points. So we continue with the key points and discuss the chapter or the prose in details. I would read to you the first paragraph of the story. One morning at 9 o'clock, while we were having breakfast on the terrace of the Havana Riviera Hotel under a bright sun, a huge wave picked up several cars that were driving down the avenue. Avenue here refers to street, along the seawall or parked on the pavement, and embedded one of them in the side of the hotel. Embedded here means to set firmly. It was like an explosion of dynamite that created panic on all 20 floors of the building and turned the great entrance window to dust. The many tourists in the lobby were thrown into the air along with the furniture and were cut by the hailstorm of glass. The wave must have been immense because it leaped over the wide two-way street between the seawall and the hotel and still had enough force to shatter the window. The cheerful Cuban volunteers, with the help of the fire department, picked up the debris, that is the remains, and in less than 6 hours, and sealed off the gate to the sea and installed another, and everything returned to normal. So this is your first paragraph of your story. So here we are told that the story opens with the author having breakfast one sunny morning on the terrace of the Havana Riviera Hotel. So suddenly there is a huge wave over which rises up over the seawall, leaps over the wide two-way street, and hits the 20-story building of the hotel. So that building was 20-storied, and it hits the 20-story building of the hotel. The wave is so strong that it throws up into the air the cars on the avenue, the tourists in the lobby, and the furniture of the hotel, and it even shatters the window panes. So the wave was so strong that it has been compared to powerful dynamite. Okay, it landed to the hotel and it even shattered the windows. Then it's even mentioned that in the first part of the text that the cheerful Cuban volunteers they came to the rescue and they with the help of the fire department picked up the debris in less than 6 hours and everything returned to the normal. Now I'm reading the second paragraph of your story that is very important for you even from the exam point of view where you are asked a couple of questions from this part of the text. So in the first slide we talked about how the situation came to normal with the help of the Cuban volunteers, right? So now I read the text for you all. During the morning, nobody worried about the car encrusted in the wall, for people assumed it was one of those that had been parked on the pavement. But when the crane lifted it out of its setting, the body of a woman was found secured behind the steering wheel by a seat belt. The blow had been so brutal that not a single one of her bones was left whole. Her face was destroyed, her boots had been ripped apart, and her clothes were in shreds. She wore a gold ring shaped like a serpent with emerald eyes. Emerald eyes means green eyes. The police established that she was the housekeeper for the new Portuguese ambassador and his wife. She had come to Havana with them 2 weeks before and had left that morning for the market driving a new car. Her name meant nothing to me when I read it in the newspaper, but I was intrigued by the snake ring and its emerald eyes. I could not find out, however, on which finger she wore it. Now, in this part of the text, we find that a woman is lying dead with a serpent ring. Okay, this part is very important. So, what does that mean? A car is found to be embedded in the hotel wall with a dead woman at the wheel. So, in the morning, no one thought they just thought that it's a car which is parked to the pavement, but no one thought that there's a lady inside, right? But when the crane came to lift the car, then they noticed a lady who was there in the car. Okay, she's identified as the Portuguese ambassador's housekeeper. The only thing which was recovered from the woman was her gold serpent shaped ring with emerald eyes. Now, this piece of information is very important. Gold sharpened shaped ring with emerald eyes. Okay, the author is intrigued by this information as he is reminded of another woman. So why is the author intrigued? Because the description of that ring, which has got emerald eyes, which shape is like a serpent, he with this description reminds him of some other lady which he might have met somewhere. We'll come to know that as you read the story. Okay. So the author is intrigued by this information as he is reminded of another woman he had met many years back who had worn a similar ring on her right forefinger. So the author remembers that the same description of the ring, okay, that is gold ring shaped like a serpent with emerald eyes. He remembers someone wearing that ring, and he also remembers that the lady was wearing that ring on her right forefinger. And now this particular lady who dies, the author is unable to find out which finger the dead woman ring was on. Now I'm going to read to you all the third paragraph of the story. This was a crucial piece of information because I feared she was a woman whose real name I never knew and who wore a similar ring on her right forefinger, which in those days was even more unusual than it is now. I had met her 34 years earlier in Vienna, okay, eating boiled potatoes and drinking in a tavern frequented by Latin American students. I had come from Rome that morning, and I still remember my immediate response to that lady, the languid foxtails on her coat collar, and that Egyptian ring in the shape of a serpent. She spoke in elementary Spanish in a metallic accent without pausing for breath, and I thought she was the only Austrian at the long wooden table. But no, she had been born in Colombia. You remember? The author also belongs to Colombia, your author, Marquez, and had come to Australia between the wars when she was little more than a child to study music and voice. She was about 30 and did not carry her years well, for she had never been pretty and had begun to age before her time. But she was a charming human being and one of the most inspiring. Vienna was still an old imperial city whose geographical location between the two worlds left behind by the Second World War had turned into a paradise of black marketeering and international espionage. Okay, so now this part of the story goes back to the author's first meeting with this woman in Vienna. So now author remembers, he goes back to the past. What technique is this? As I have already mentioned to you, it's flashback, right? In the present scenario, he's going back to the past and trying to recall where exactly he met the woman with this description of a ring. What is the description of the ring? What is the description of the ring? It is a serpent ring with emerald eyes. Okay. So the story goes back to the author's first meeting with this woman in Vienna at a tavern 34 years before. So the author met this lady. Okay, he's assuming that the lady with the same description might be this lady whom he has met 34 years before in Vienna at a tavern. Okay, the woman had been born in Colombia, okay, and had come to Australia as a child to learn music. This woman has come to Austria to learn music. She was born in Colombia, and from Colombia she has come to Austria to learn music. As she never disclosed her real name, everybody referred to her as Frau-Frida. She never revealed her name to anyone, so people started calling her Frau-Frida. The author wanted to know what she did for a living, to which she replied that she sold her dreams. Okay, for that we'll come later. This part of the story tells you that she was born in Colombia. She came to Australia between the wars when she was little more than a child to study music and voice. Here we pause for a while and reflect whether we are able to answer these two questions, because already we have discussed this in details in our previous slides. Okay, so when we meet today in our Google Meet, we'll see that we're able to answer these questions, and in case you have any doubt, we'll definitely discuss in our Google Meet. Let me read out these two questions for you. These are very simple questions. Though they are simple, these are frequently asked questions in the board exams. See, the way we are doing this chapter, as you can see, we are reading in between the lines. We are reading each and every line. We are reading each and every word so that we do not miss anything. These chapters are very simple if you read everything and don't avoid anything. Okay. So I read these two questions for you. How did the author recognize the lady who was extricated from the car encrusted in the wall of Havana Rivera Hotel after the storm? That's the first question. Your second question is, why did the author leave Vienna never to return again? Okay, so we are going to discuss this two questions in our Google Meet, so you need to be prepared. Okay, here I have picked few statements which are very important in terms of this text. Okay, the first, you could take it as a question or you could just take it as a statement which makes us think about so many things. The first is, in spite of all the rationality that human beings are capable of, most of us are suggestible and yield to archaic superstitions. See, on one hand we say that we are very rational, and on the other hand we are suggestible and we yield to archaic superstitions. It happens sometimes, if you see a cat passing through your way, you stop there and wait for somebody else to pass, then you pass. These are certain superstitions which some of us believe in. So this text questions that. Are you superstitious? Do you trust in all this traditional beliefs? Okay, yeah, some of the issues raised in the text are this. The second one says, dreams and clairvoyance are as much as element of the poetic vision as religious superstition. See, what is dream? Dreams are an extremely significant part of a person's subconscious, right? Dreams are a mere reflection of what is going on in reality. Sometimes, at times what happens today, it was a very disturbing day, maybe in your school, maybe I had a very disturbing day today. So when I sleep, maybe I could see those in my dreams. What is happening? Okay. However, the dream world is a completely alternate universe, because in that universe anything is possible, right? Which might not be possible in our universe. What you see in your dreams, anything might be possible. Okay, so herein comes magic realism, a universe where anything is possible and where magical realism can be most prominent. So okay, this means that dreams and clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is your ability to see future, is your ability to predict future. Okay, so it says that dreams on one hand and clairvoyance on other hand are as much as element of the poetic vision as religious superstition. So these two are part of poetic vision as well as religious superstition. What is poetic vision? What is a poetry? Uh, See, I'll give you very simple examples. William Wordsworth wrote so many poems, The Rainbow, Daffodils. He had a walk. After the walk, he came home. Whatever he could see outside, he was inspired by the daffodils who were dancing. Okay, so he just penned down his thoughts and he started writing about it, right? So do you think everything he wrote was whatever he saw? Yes, it what he saw plus his imagination. That is poetic vision. Okay, and religious superstition is also that. Okay, you know certain things, you are modern, but still you feel these things can also happen. So these are a few interesting things which are there in the story. We just need to pick up where exactly we find this, and as we do the story, we'll definitely take these things into consideration. These three questions can also be taken as a part of your talking about the text. This is what the text is talking to us. Okay, the text is telling us.